The tattoo on my ankle is the closure of a circuit that begins with the sun. It's the symbol of the earth, a triangle inverted and bisected like a body on the slab. It's the grounding point of the lightning strike that animates me. It's the only tattoo I have. But it's enough to keep me unburied and divided and alone. Because when I die, they won't let my body rot in a plain pine casket, unadorned, the smell of resin or incense or bodies alive and sweating. How I want it to live, unwashed, smelling like I was alive at some point. No matter what I do, I always smell alive. And they won't let my body rot in their graveyard with the headstones defaced, with the stones left or lopped or stolen. All because the tattoo on my ankle and the holes in my ears that were signs of slavery once and are signs of empowerment now. This one's called On a Mountain Far from Zion. My people never bled but from birth, from cocks and thighs, from cunts and thighs, divided from the world by sheets as paper thin as Passover bread, or as the Torah unraveled completely. The Torah, 2 scrolls in one, wrapped around itself, it only looks within. My people never bled. The children of others who bled their own leached them white as flat as bread as paper, and fevered, burning up, as we always did. My people never bled because what kind of insect bleeds when it hides, and we could never hide? They said, "You're Jewish, aren't you? Or aren't you a man?" The same question before the putsch becomes a punch, becomes a pogrom. A disappearance, an extinction, a memory, a forgetting that blood is a border, is a wall, is a curse. This poem, the next 2 poems I wrote either in Olympia or on the way to or from Olympia. This one I wrote as a way of like kind of dealing with the sort of like weird like shitty fake narratives that we like have about like being queer enough. So it's called Hey Faggot. When I was 13, they pinned my arms and called me a fag. I screamed a half-hearted no because I half-heartedly knew that I was such a fucking fag. Like, I had a crush on my best friend and had wished we'd kiss, but he didn't want to, and I was heartbroken. When I was 14, I grew my hair out, and after my mom got arrested, we moved to the new apartment, and I lay in a new bed, full, not twin, with a metal bed frame where I'd chipped my tooth gagging on the headboard. I dreamed what it would be like to be a dyke. When I was 15, I dated my first queer, and though we didn't know we were such fags, and I still felt awkward when folks mistook me for a girl. When I was 16, they called me a fag for my lips and my hair and my lisp and my voice and the dyke I was dating. When I was 17, I knew I was a fag, and I was so over it. I think my dad had been a fag in an earlier life, because when I wore his old Levi's that barely fit and my own girly shirts too tight, the pink and purple, I felt femme enough. When I was 18, I told my mom I was a fag, and she cried and told me I'd get AIDS and forgot about it for years. I tried to tell my dad in the Thai cafe on Sunset, watched him finish from behind an empty plate when I still ate meat. But he told me what a whore my stepmom was, that you can never trust bisexuals, that they're always split, schizophrenic, he said. My family has a history of schizophrenia, and I'm a bit crazy, and I didn't come out to my dad until I was 24. This last poem is a response to a poem that I wrote about how much I hate Seattle. That poem is called Waiting for the Waves to Drown This Fucking City. This poem is just called Waiting for the Waves. If capital is a tide pool, and the moon weighs heavy, and the tide is low like the belly of a fox scrambling out of reach, know this. You don't have to wait for the world to burn to see it turn to dust. The sea stars are dust already. The urchins are already dust. The anemones turn to dust as they curl into each other. The barnacles are made of dust. Stony flowers, bony flowers, waiting for the waves. When the tide is low, like a laden ship or the end of a shrug, and when they come collecting flowers, come collecting bones, know this. Our bodies bloom bone and salt and ash. We wear our razors on our skin, and their bared feet are so very soft. So now I'm going to just read an excerpt from my chapbook called Superscript Subhuman. It looks like this. I have copies, and I have stickers if you want to buy either of them from me and give me money. So those are just pay what you can, and I'll be back at the back when and if you want to give me money. So this is the second section. It's called Winter. Her first hour in Seattle, Phaedra deep-throated a microphone in a DIY space no bigger than the van she was living in. 17 noise kids and queer punks packed around the platform she stood on, barely high enough to raise her above the crowd. They were swaying or grinding or shuffling to the music, trying to escape their shitty lives, or maybe just escape into the noise, escaping Phaedra's throat. The PA in the next room was directed right at the fabric dividers on every side, creating a quadraphonic hellscape for the two contact mics like a feeding tube down her throat, where they tickled the dynamic mic, hitting her larynx, and interfered with the electromagnetic sensors, converting her biometric signals into high decibel static. What the crowd heard but couldn't understand, besides the digesting remains of a small animal, was a spirit inside Phaedra telling her Seattle was totally the place to be. Seriously, do you not see the crowd you're pulling in? It's like 3 more than that house show in Spokane. And sure, Missoula was sick, at least 30 or 20 punks, but they all left after that folk punk act that played after you, not that your set wasn't amazing. Phaedra tried to physically respond, a bad habit she'd kept from dating humans, but just gagged on her mics and thought, dude, you're ruining my performance. The spirit just laughed, feeling real settled on this dying city, and said something about the trans housing network, posting on Phaedra's Facebook, trying to get her a room for a night, and goddess knows what else. The thought had Phaedra spitting out the mic, covering a young skinhead with an appropriately excessive amount of bloody saliva. The scream that followed her spit, muffled by the 2 mics still in Phaedra's stomach, was for the spirit, out of her body now, likely possessing and destroying what was left of her computer. The scream spread down Phaedra's smooth muscles into her fleshier organs and the 2 mics, and then arrived louder and distorted from the PA. The bass in her lower-than-average voice through fleshy body soundboard blew a speaker and a few eardrums, which sent the noise kids into a frenzy and the queers into a slightly less disaffected grind sway. Phaedra threw up around the time that the PA caught fire and the crowd started kicking over furniture and the cops kicked down the front door. The next-door neighbors had heard her set and thought there was a murder party or something, and the pigs, as bloodthirsty as ever, wanted in on it. Through the chaos, Phaedra tried to gather her mics and pedals while also pulling away the EM sensors hot-glued to her skin. Then the skinhead from before, blinded by the vitriol in her spit, knocked her down, and she was about ready to let the crowd curb stomp her, certainly better than going to jail, when someone pulled her away and past the dividers and through several bedrooms that doubled as kitchens and bathrooms, and then into an alley where they pushed her hard against the wall. Okay, where the fuck is it? This black-haired, side-of-head shaved girl spat at her. That was really hot, Phaedra managed. But pin me harder. Spit on me again. The spirit dork. I heard it like a block away. FYI, your little sensors are working, and I don't know if you're trying to catch my attention, doubtful, or getting bored and lonely with the spirit, but dude, you're gonna catch something far worse out here. I feel like I already have, Phaedra said, only half joking. I'm human, or near enough, but I can hook the 2 of you if that's what you want. The girl loosened her grip, enough for Phaedra to really consider how this tour and this hitch around her mind were going. She tabulated the gas money she'd spanged to get out of Montana, the roadkill and whatever the fuck else that got her through eastern Washington, the days and nights spent on autopilot while a spirit led her down even worse roads. She felt her ribs through her dress for the first time in 2 months, and then the pangs of hunger that went with it. The girl was mumbling something. What Phaedra knew was the kind of magic she never really got into. This was the no fun, get out of jail free kind, and not the drink a handle, hop a train, and live kind that she was so used to. TBH, you're really fucked, the girl said when she'd finished casting the spell. And I'm fucking tired of taking care of hedge witch wannabes in over their heads. But your noise is good, and you're cute, and I'm kind AF, so come back to my place for a few days before you go on tour, okay? Times like these, pinned down or pinned up, Phaedra sank into not much, like she could sink into the puddle of her consciousness and hope that one day one spirit or another would hold her under, lovingly, and fully baptize themselves into her life. She wouldn't have to worry for a while. She wouldn't need anything. Ask any of Phaedra's human partners, however, and they tell you she could hold her breath for a hella long time. Long enough to wake up bulge-eyed and gagging and maybe happier and hotter for it. Yeah, okay, Phaedra said as this thought ended, but you're going to have to spit on me again. Cool. Thank you.